should be live.
Yes, I just got a notification.
Okay. All right. Let's see if the picture shows up. There we are. Cool. All right. Good to know that it shows us live like a whole 40 seconds before it says it does. All right. Waiting for people. Hopefully got the notification. Hopefully you guys are going to come join us. We're going to give it a few minutes before we start talking about stuff. So we're just going to awkwardly sit here until you guys pour into the channel. Cool. Let me lower this. I don't need to hear myself. 30-second delay. All right. Looks like we got 3 people in the chat. Don't know if that's counting me and you or not. Oh, you're not. So, okay. Let's see here. Live chat up. What's going on? We got some people in the chat. Let's see. I'm going to use my phone here to read you guys talking to us. Mr. Thanovich. Yo, back. JC Cook. Always good to see you. What's going on, yo? Yep. So we got 5 people in the chat. Let's do this, boys and girls. This thing's thinking on me. Hold on. All right. Let me move this over here. Let me know if you guys hear any weird feedback or anything. I got a lot of electronics and stuff in the way of the mic here. Hopefully it's not too bad. You guys can hear us all right. All right. So what's going on? What's going on with you guys? What's new? What's exciting? What have you guys been getting yourselves into? Let us know in the chat. So unfortunately, for those of you, we got 6 people in the chat right now. I might repeat this later for people trickling in late, but we were going to do this on the We Judge Everything channel, but unfortunately we don't have the cap requirement, or the requirement, not the cap, of subscribers just yet. We have 41 subscribers on the new channel, and the Mevo setup, like the camera that I'm using and everything, requires 50 subscribers in order to go live directly to YouTube. So we decided to do an audible and go live on the established channel, the old channel, the original channel. So yeah, we're just going to be talking about Scream, answering questions, Scream 6 to be specific, answering questions that you guys may have and engaging with you guys, just hanging out, for an hour or so. But yeah, hopefully you guys are cool with that. We are going to do a podcast episode, especially since we experienced technical difficulties with how we wanted to do Scream 6. Lex and I saw it last night in the theater, and we definitely have some thoughts on it. We're not afraid anymore of spoilers because we got to see the last one that's out. So you guys can feel free to talk about speculations, what you guys think is going to happen, what you guys liked, disliked, that kind of thing. Like I said, we're going to do an actual episode, mainly because I'm a completionist and I kind of want to have an actual podcast episode breaking down Scream 6. We're going to probably see it again to kind of get, things we missed the first time around, and, seeing a movie in the theaters, you're kind of experiencing it. So you don't really see a lot of stuff that you can see when you can pause it and stuff like that. So if it goes into streaming, which I think it's going to soon, we're going to watch it at least one more time to get more, verse on the details and whatnot. All right. So I think it says we have 5 people in the chat. So yeah, I don't know if we want to start just yet. Have you guys got any questions? Shoot it our way. We can answer them for you. Give a couple minutes for people to trickle on in here before we get talking about the movie. We did saw the 5th one. We're going to do an actual regular podcast episode on that, but it's special. It's going to be, I'll give you guys the sneak peek on how special it is in a second. I just noticed your shirt. Oh yeah, dude. It's fantastic.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Yeah. Greg actually signed, like I'm pointing at my chest here. I don't think I can zoom in. Maybe I can. Hold on. Let's see here. Yeah. Greg signed it right on Tommy's forehead. He wrote Greg Sestero or GS. I'm not sure how he signs his name, but yeah, it was pretty awesome. I got it when we went to the screening. He had this shirt and he had one in my size, and I was pretty stoked about it. And yeah, so it's one of my favorite shirts. Thank you so much for noticing. But yeah, anyways, yeah, we saw excuse me, we saw the 5th one, and we decided to film it the way I used to film first time watches with like CJ and stuff like that back in the day in this channel. And we decided to go traditional with it because those of you who are fans of the Scream franchise, the fifth one is probably the hardest one to get through as far as like how impactful the scenes are and the deaths and stuff like that. And I knew that it was going to have a lot of reactions that one can only experience if they're invested in the characters. And now that I showed Lex the first four movies, she kind of, Dewey, Gale, and Sydney are household names to us now, at least to her. So, she was able to react to, you guys know the things that happened in the fifth one. So very, very, very excited. Favorite Scream killers question? Oh yeah, dude. Oh, that's great. It's a very easy question for both of us. Actually, we're fans of the original, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be cliche, but I have to go with Billy and Stu. Like, it's just, I don't know. They're the original, and there's just something about, especially Stu. I love him. Like, I love his character, and I also just love Matthew, and he's just great, dude.
Yeah, it's like you said, not to be cliche. It's one of those things that the in-world movie, like when they start talking about Stab, when they start talking about the original killers in world, they talk about them as the Holy Grail for a reason. I think where Roman had his pluses or whatever, what he brought to the table, Mrs. Loomis kind of not so much. Mickey was kind of like the hybrid of like Billy and Randy, because he had like the nerdiness of knowing about all the movies, but he had like that craziness that Billy brought and that Stu brought to the table. So both of them really, but other than that, like they kind of tapered off for me. I didn't really care for the ones in 4 because I'm just not a big Emma Roberts guy. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. Like she just seemed very whiny to me. And
I think as a killer though, like as a murderer or whatever, I did like her a lot, especially because the way that she had planned it out and the lengths that she went to frame everybody else and make it look like she was innocent was just like impressive to me. Like it was definitely a little bit different than the other like killers had done, I think. So I did like Emma Roberts a little bit as the killer, but I definitely know what you mean though. Like as a character in itself, she plays a character like that in at least one season of American Horror Story. That's just kind of, I don't know, that might even be who she kind of is as a person. I'm not sure, but yeah, I as a character, but I did like her as a killer kinda. Her motive obviously was ridiculous, but like I don't know. There's I have so many different opinions about that.
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it just it missed the mark for me. It wasn't. I don't want to jump the gun here, but I have thoughts on Scream 6 about the ending and the reveal and everything. We'll get to that later in the episode or in the video, but I don't know that overall the killers kind of started really strong and then just took a nosedive towards now. I just didn't feel like, sure, I didn't necessarily see it coming. Like wasn't able to go, oh, it's, her character, it's Jill and it's the other dude. And in 5, like I didn't think it was going to be Richie, because the movie did start with him and Sam in a different part of the state, so like, or country really. I think they were in another state. So I was very, very confused as to how he, I was like, well, there has to be a second killer, because obviously there's no way that he can go from state to state if he was with her the whole night. I mean, sure, maybe there's a way with movie magic that you can do it, but seeing that it was that girl from I think it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the only other thing I've seen her in. I think she's Asian. I think the girl with the long dark hair that was the second killer in 5. She was very. I wasn't surprised. I saw it in theaters, and I wasn't surprised when I saw her. I was like, okay, she's part of it.
Yeah.
Because she seems like she's gonna get typecast to be a psycho, and I mean, she's even at the end when she goes running, she's like all scarred up. It's literally the same as in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's almost, I think, the exact same thing. She gets messed up in that, and then like runs towards the camera in this like psychotic fashion. So I think she's. Not to say that being typecast is a bad thing, but it's kind of writings on the wall. Same thing with Timothy Olyphant. I know that in the 90s, he wasn't pegged as like a bad guy because, Girl Next Door didn't come out yet, and like Hitman didn't come out yet and stuff. but someone like Timothy Olyphant, he kind of looks like he's going to be a bad guy. So when I saw him in Mandalorian, I thought he was going to be a bad guy. So that's just kind of how I took that. Mickey Madison. Madison. Yeah, yeah. Oh, is that your favorite? Dude. Yeah, he was, like I said, he was really good. I liked his ruthlessness. I liked the fact that he, was you saw his flaws in the end. Like he was trusting of Mrs. Loomis and then they got him killed in the end. And he just has a way of all the scenes, like going back, knowing after you see Scream 2, knowing that he was so methodical. Like he goes with Sydney to the hospital. He's like, acting like, that's why I thought in 5 and in 6, I thought that, what's his name? Chad could have been a killer because he was that Mickey character. He was that, oh, don't worry, man, if they show up, we'll take care of them kind of character. And it's just, it's one of those things where it kind of throws you for a loop. And Mickey definitely was very, very scary, especially growing up, being so young. When I saw those movies, I was like, oh my God, like any friend that I have that resembles him, I'm going to freak out over, But yeah, I definitely agree that Mickey's up there. But for us, it probably would have to be the originals. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we could start. It's been, I don't know how long it's been so far. This thing's going in reverse. Okay, this is all types of weird, weird. The technology is not working with me tonight. But anyways, we can go ahead and start talking about 6. I was, first of all, super, super excited that I got to see it in theaters because I know that we were taking a little bit of time trying to get the videos out and stuff in time to get to the 6th one. And I was worried that it wasn't going to be in theaters by the time we finished watching 5. We got some more questions here. See, Mickey is the name of the actress who plays Amber in Scream 5.
Oh, yeah.
Mickey, really?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Her name is Mickey.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. She's my personal favorite Scream killer. I don't know why, but I like her acting choices work. And when she's revealed, Mickey freaks you out. Yeah. So in Scream 5, Mickey was Amber. I'm trying to remember.
Amber, yeah.
Amber. Scream 5.
She was the killer. Her and Richie were the killers.
Oh, Amber. Okay, yeah, because I'm bad with names. Yeah, so her name was Amber. Yeah. She's, I tell you, man, that.
I liked how, I did like the scene especially where she, all of a sudden when Sydney and Gail are like ganging up on her, she all of a sudden switches and she's like, oh my God, no, I'm just a dumb high school kid. It's not my fault. I got dragged into this. I'm so sorry. And then I don't remember what, Gail or Sydney says something, and then it's about like Dewey, and then she switches again and she's like, yeah, and Dewey died like a pussy too. And it's like that psychotic like switch that she has. I definitely can understand why somebody would like her a lot for sure.
Yeah.
Like I did like that element of it. I was like, when I saw that scene, I was like, damn, she's a really good actor because that is like convincing. Obviously, because of the situation, everyone knows it's bullshit that she's acting that way, but she did play it off really good.
Yeah, that part where she like is on top of Gail in the kitchen and she says, oh, I got to, kill Dewey, and now who'd have thought that I get to do you both, and I was like, damn, that's messed up because obviously who doesn't want to take revenge on, their lover being murdered by someone, especially like a high schooler. When you're an adult, you're like a high schooler, you always like, flick a high schooler off, like you don't take them seriously, and then you get that much more upset. Yeah, she definitely she duped me for a while throughout them, especially in the theater. I was like, oh, there's something wrong with this girl, as I said earlier. But her like devotion to Tara at first, I was like, okay, obviously she's filling the shoes of her sister, who, for all intents and purposes, abandoned her for whatever. And she's like, oh, your sister's not in town anymore. I'm going to take care of you kind of thing. So it kind of, I think it was purposefully made for you not to suspect that she had ulterior motives against Tara. And then when it was revealed, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it was a little obsessive and that's kind of the writing on the wall, but they played it well. The pacing, I think, was really well done in the 5th one for sure. So it's interesting that that's your favorite killer. Okay, I'm definitely glad you corrected us because I didn't want to assume that it was Mickey from the 2nd one. But yeah, so with 6, I thought it started really, really strong. And not just because we were in the theater, because I've kind of gotten better at separating that experience. I know I have podcast episodes and content where I talk about a movie being amazing, first impression video, and then after it comes out on Blu-ray and I watch it again, I'm like, not the greatest movie, I don't think. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. I think the last Doctor Strange for me was a lot better in theaters, and then when I saw it at home, I was like, okay, this movie's kind of convoluted, and I didn't care for it. But yeah, it was very, very interesting to see how they started the sixth one. Speaking of Spider-Man and the MCU, they actually had the kid who played Flash Thompson in it, which I like that kid. That kid is really funny. But yeah, that we thought we were sitting there. We were the only ones in the theater. Nobody else was there. So sometimes that's a blessing because we're able to like react and not feel like we're disturbing anybody else's experience. And we sat there, we sat right in the center, and we were like yelling at the screen and all that, you know, and I see him and I'm like, oh, it's Flash, you know? And the minute we realized that he killed the girl in the beginning who looked like great value, Margot Robbie. I know apparently this girl is very, you know, popular with, I think it was the costume designer. She worked with her on another project. So I'm not trying to like shit on this actress or not, but when I first saw her, I was like, Margot Robbie? What? It's not her, but the girl looks just like her to me. And when she gets killed, those of you, by the way, those of you who haven't seen Scream 6, full spoilers in effect, as we're going to be talking about this movie. Probably not in painstaking detail, but definitely talking about it. So if you don't want to spoil Scream 6, I won't be offended if you don't hang out. But yeah, going forward, definitely spoiler alert ahead. But yeah, like the way that when she died, and then all of a sudden the guy just takes his mask off, and we're like, wait, what? Like Lex and I, we looked at each other, and we were like, we're gonna know who the killer is from the beginning?
Yeah, they really made us believe like this is gonna be like a reverse of, you know, how all the other movies have been, which I didn't know how I felt about it, honestly, but I was like, okay, well that does definitely add a different element to the feeling that you get when you're watching the movie, especially if this person is like in the friend group, which he was, because we see him talking to Tara, or
he runs into her.
Yeah, and I was like, well, knowing who the killer is throughout the whole movie while watching everyone else try to decide who it is definitely does add like a different like, oh my god, he's right there type of feeling, but it's like the whole time. But of course, you know, he ended up dying, so we were like, what the hell?
Yeah, and it was, I like how they continue to make Ghostface, especially in 6. Holy crap, dude. They make Ghostface so brazen, like doesn't give a damn about who sees it. Scream 6, like I said, it's the ultimate, like, we get to that grocery store scene, didn't give a damn, dude. Like,
yeah, he's just killing people in the open, just like in the store, just everybody in there is dead, dude. Like,
and the sound effects that they use for like the stabbing sounds and even the yelling, like when the girl, the you know, great value Margot Robbie, which I just got a comment that said, great value Margot Robbie is insane. Mr. Thanovich also said, Scream 6 is one of the worst killer reveals. It is such a strong start, middle, and then it drops off. Dude, 100% agree with you.
Dude, I cannot agree with that more. I'm so glad we're not the only ones who thought that, because when they revealed the killers, I was like, I mean, okay. I mean, one of them two of them actually, I suspected heavily. The other girl, I was like, okay, I didn't expect it, but like, I don't like it. Like, obviously, we're not supposed to like the killer, but that's not what I mean. Obviously, like, I don't know. It just didn't feel. It just didn't feel right.
It felt 100% rushed. It felt like, you know, nothing. We didn't even form any real connection with the killer. Like, all the killers before were either main characters, they were supporting characters, either they were cast to be supporting characters before the reveal, or they were trying to be supporting of the main characters. And the redheaded chick, she was just a slut. Like, literally, that's all she did, was the whole time was encourage promiscuity. That's all she did. And, you know, so when she died, I even said it. I was like, oh, okay, I don't care. You know, like, you're the worst influence for Tara and Samantha and anybody else who, you know, is upcoming, you know, teenager, whether you're a guy or a girl, doesn't matter. Because she's like, oh, you know, I'm with this guy and I'm scamming on this guy, and then I'm thinking about this guy, and we're like, okay, great. You know, and then so she died, and I'm like, no real love lost there. And then turned out she's the killer. The grief with the dad, I didn't catch on to it like you did, where you were like, I don't know about this guy.
I definitely, as soon as that scene came on where after his daughter died, he was like crying, and he was like, oh, my family's gone, everybody's gone. I immediately was like,
oh, my friends are dead. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
He was like one of my main suspects, and of course, when he got revealed at the end, I was like, Okay, that's not surprising to me.
Yeah, and then this movie had so many like knockoff. We had Great Value, Margot Robbie. There's an argument
Knockoff
for
Evan
yeah,
Peters. Only at certain angles though. Certain angles he kind of looks like a very young Evan Peters to
it's
me.
the hair because that
It's
stupid
definitely the
little
hair,
frilly
and
hair.
they have like the same face shape, I think, and the same eyes a little bit. But like I said, at certain angles, I don't know.
JC Cook says, I know a certain redhead chick like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily say that it's a redhead chick that I know, but I know several girls growing up in high school that if you asked her before lunch who she was dating, she would tell you, and then after lunch it would be someone different, and then on the way home on the bus you'd text her and it'd be someone different. So I definitely understand there are people like that, unfortunately.
Don't group all of us redheads into that though. Oh my god.
Not to say that everybody, or that the role was not based off realistic people and personalities, but like Mr. Thanovich said, Quinn felt like such an afterthought. She did. She was very much like, I forget her name in Scream. Is it 3? No, it's 2 because it's the one with Mickey. The black girl, her roommate. I forget her name. The chick that gets killed after they get out of the car crash scene, and she's like, "What? There's no one there." And then her and Sydney separate, and she gets stabbed.
Yeah.
That she seemed like a more raunchy version of that character. She was more like, and it makes sense then when you're in college. You're like, not to say that there's a time and a place to be a slut or whatever, but like when you're in college, college is supposed to be an experimental phase in your life, whether you go to college or not. That age range, you're supposed to figure out who you're going to be for the rest of your life, theoretically. So, she's like, oh, go out, let loose, whatever. That's fine. But when you're like living in the city, trying to work and all that, and you're sitting there bringing a different person every day, I'm like, all right, man, whatever. In a slasher movie, like,
I was about to say, especially like knowing about the Woodsboro murders and all that, knowing that like every year pretty much up until, there is like a time difference between the 4th and the 5th one, and then the 5th and the 6th one.
There's like a 10-year difference.
Yeah. So, but like knowing all of the killings that have happened, and you're just like, that's why when Tara in the 6th one was like just so willing to go up to, basically, I mean, she didn't say she was gonna fuck him, but he was obviously gonna take advantage of her. He was gonna, he took her up there because there was more alcohol up there, and like she was just so ready to go and got so pissed at everybody who was trying to keep her from going. Obviously, she had some character development, and she was like, "Thank you for not letting me go up there with him." But I was like, dude, what are these bitches thinking? Like, there's been so many murders, and they're just willing to get with anybody and just talk to anybody that comes by, and it's just like,
yeah,
like the movies seem to be very realistic up until that, and I'm like, unless, I mean, I guess there are people who are really like that, but I'm just like, it makes me so mad.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I'm from New York City, born and raised there, first 20 years of my life. In the, like, some of those shots, I walked those streets like every day after school or on the weekends. And I really liked the fact that it took place in New York. Like, there's the scene with Sam and Tara running into the bodega or whatever, and Ghostface comes in after her, and the one guy's like, yo, what are you gonna, that's literally where I come from. Like that, if you go in somewhere, you might run in and say, oh my God, help me, I'm being chased. And then everyone's going to look at you like you're crazy, and they might not help you. But the minute that person who's chasing you rounds the corner, everybody's like Mr. Tough Guy. That's just how New York City is. And so when that guy steps up, and he's like, oh, what are you going to do about it? And that guy gets ganked, bro. And then like, he hits the ground, and then everyone's like, oh shit. And then they scatter. That's how it is. And the fact that he just went in there, no fucks given, just starts, slashing. And then the homeboy comes out with a sawed-off shotgun, bro, and he's just like, blow, one time. And then he looks, and I'm like, oh, God, here we go. And, that's very realistic, because a lot of New York, it's either soundproof or people make it soundproof. Nobody says anything. Everyone's afraid to talk, And the pacing in the very beginning of the movie was very promising, because I was like, holy shit, this is different. This isn't like small town, everybody knows everybody. No, this is, who are you? Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Woodsboro. Where's that? That's not in the Big Apple, so you don't belong here, kind of thing. And that's how it felt. It felt very snooty when it was supposed to be. Like, the very beginning started off as like, upper middle class lady in the middle of a bar scene, like it was very different. It was very fresh. And then it kind of took a nosedive, and then it went into the college, because it was a college student who killed her. So it felt like you could have literally tied the plot with a string, and then for some reason that string just dipped towards the end. Very, very rushed, as we said. The return of Kirby was pretty interesting. Unfortunately, that was spoiled for both her and I.
Yeah, I didn't know how she was gonna come back though, so that part wasn't spoiled for me. I just knew that she wasn't dead, so it wasn't like an insane spoiler. So it still was like surprising and like a good feeling when I saw her come on the screen. Um, but it was a little weird though. Like her personality seemed a little different. She wasn't the same Kirby she was in 5, and I didn't really like that. Obviously, everyone grows up, everyone matures, but you know, I lost a lot of that Kirby magic. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Kirby thing that we talked about it. We were in the theater hall. Let me read some of these chats real quick. The person who plays Ethan, great value, Evan Peters, is also in Avengers Endgame as the kid that Ant-Man asked what happened. Yes, I knew he was familiar. I didn't know, and you know that during that age range, you know, humans tend to just blossom. Like look at what is it, Wolfheart from Stranger Things. What's his name? That plays Mike.
Oh, Finn.
Finn, yeah. Like he overnight, he's just like grown ass man now. Like what the hell, you know? Like you see him as a little kid, and then you watch him in It or in season 1 of Stranger Things, and you watch him now, and you're like, what the hell? Who's that? You know, puberty is crazy.
Sounds like this now.
Yeah, he's like, whoa, grown ass man. You know, so that's crazy. Let's see what else we got here. The part that I find funny was when Mindy gets stabbed and nobody pays any mind. Dude, okay, holy shit. Okay, so as I said, born and raised in New York City. I went to school there. I went to high school there, public school. Just to give you a little background of my life growing up. My first period class was at like 8:30, 8:45 in the morning. I had to be in my school on the school grounds by 6:15, 6:30 because of how long it took to scan me every day. I had to get patted down, wand scanned, and then I had to walk through a metal detector, and then they had to search my backpack. And then after that, there was a dog, a German Shepherd, which was the very first time I ever saw a German Shepherd in real life, was going to high school. The dog had to smell me, my person, and also my bag. So then I was allowed to go up to an escalator and make it to my first period class. So when I tell you that I scrutinize a New York-based movie, I do. For continuity, like when they, like in Salt, I've said this a couple times on the channel, I think, when Angelina Jolie jumps off of a bridge in Salt and she's like over on Riverside where I grew up, right around where I grew up, she jumps off of an overpass and lands in Philly. I was like, okay, guys, come on. Like people actually live in these places. We know the stuff. Like kind of do your research, and like if you can't afford to do the whole shot in New York, just don't do it in New York, you know. But yeah, dude, it's legit like that. Like I was telling Alexa, I was like, her and I developed it after a bunch of stuff that we won't get into in this channel, a bunch of, you know, traumatic experiences and stuff like that I had when I moved here. I'm kind of sort of mildly claustrophobic now. Like I don't like to be in tight spaces for long periods of time without getting anxious. But when I lived in New York, that's just how everyone lived. And that's how it was. Like being in the train, everyone just like hitting you with their elbows, not really trying to hurt you, but like not apologizing either. That's how it is. So when she gets stabbed, it immediately took me back to when we actually had muggings, and we had like in the local news, people would say, you know, if you're going to go on the number 2 train, you know, make sure that you transfer on 96th Street, not, you know, 50 whatever street, because people have been known to get mugged here and there. And people would literally pass out pieces of paper that said, this is where the last attack happened. Don't go here. So it's very much like that. I don't know if you were wondering or not, but yes, if someone were to get stabbed like that, it would take at minimum 5 to 10 minutes before anyone realizes it. Like even if they see the blood, they'll go, what are you doing on the floor? Like unfortunately, it's just either that fast pace or just that's how the culture is. New York is a very crazy place.
Sorry, I feel like a lot of people there probably just also don't want to get involved too, because they see that and they're like, I don't want that shit to happen to me. I'm gonna just stay out of it, which is fucked up. But I feel like, you know, I've never even been to New York, but I can imagine from living there that you kind of get that, you know, if you're smart, you kind of get that mindset of like, I'm gonna stay out of stuff that doesn't concern me because I don't know what's gonna happen if I get involved. So there's probably an element of that too in it. But
yeah, I mean, I had a couple times growing up where I'd see kids getting like, you know, threatened to get jumped or something like that, and the kid would go and tell an adult. Like these kids, like it happened to me once. I was getting like chased by this gang of kids because I walked one of my friends home from school, and he had a problem with these kids that lived in this neighborhood, and we had to cross through the neighbor. If we were we were going on foot, we had to walk through the neighborhood. If we went on the bus, then the bus kind of just drove on the street and we never had to get off. And the bus didn't run that day. And he was like, "Hey man, can you walk me home? I'm afraid, cause there's these kids who don't like me." And I said, "Sure." He was a lot younger than me. So I figured there were a bunch of little kids and I could just scare them being, a bigger dude and stuff. And, turns out these kids for some reason were my age and there were like 8 to 10 of them. And, I'm a big guy. I can handle my own, but I mean, when you have 8 to 10 kids that I say kids, because at the time we were all like 12, 13, and they all have weapons. Like that's not an even playing field, and, I remember having to like literally telling him, I'm like, "Listen, hit down this hallway, this alleyway and just run. I'll, meet up with you on 7th Avenue or whatever it was." And we separate and we take off running. And I thankfully saw my dad and all his friends outside playing dominoes. And, so I run up across the street, tell my dad, I'm like, "Hey, see that mob of kids waiting for that car to pass? They're coming for me because I walked Josh home." And then, it's literally dog eat dog world over there. Like it's great to visit. I wouldn't recommend moving to New York unless you got really, really thick skin or you're willing to gain thick skin. It's not a fun place to go if you don't know what you're doing. But enough about that. The movie takes place in New York, guys. That's why we're talking about it. But yeah, it's crazy because a lot of it was very realistic. Kirby, we were on. I'm trying to remember where we were. We were with Kirby's difference in personality.
Yeah.
I, for one, hated how she spoke. Bro, that pissed me off because it was so ridiculous. Like she was like, "Yeah, I'm Kirby, and I'm an FBI agent, so maybe you're gonna." I'm like, "Why are you talking like you just got your jaw wired shut? Like, what happened to the I don't know. I don't know if it was a decision that Hayden made. I can tell she had a little bit of cosmetic surgery because her face looked very puffy.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if that's what could cause that. She did look different to me.
Yeah.
Which I was like, whatever. That most stars, especially that started out young, Courtney Cox.
That was.
They're all looking a little different now. I don't know. I wish they wouldn't have changed that personality that she had so much, because that was like the whole reason why she was such a good character. Like, and they chose to bring her back, but it almost seemed like just a completely new character.
Yeah.
I didn't get that feeling that they, I assume, wanted us to feel from bringing her back.
There was that one scene that she was vibing with what's her name? Oh my God. Randy's niece. With an M? Chad's sister? Mindy. She was like vibing with Mindy and talking about being slasher fanatics, and she was like, favorite nightmare, and she's like the first one, and the other one's like Final Nightmare, or Kirby, whatever. That was the only time Kirby seemed like Kirby from Scream 4.
Yeah.
That's it. And of course she's an FBI agent now, so dedicated her life to Ghostface, appearances and stuff like that. Where was she in 5? I have no idea. But yeah, that was pretty cool that they brought back another legacy character, especially since Sydney wasn't in this one, which I don't know how I feel about that.
That was weird. I mean, we saw her at the beginning on the phone, right? Or
well, Gail just like that was in 5.
That was in 5.
Yeah, because we watched it like the day before.
I figured I would get some stuff jumbled, but Gail mentions her. She's like,
just got off the phone with Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, Sydney, because Samantha's like, she's not gonna come back here, is she? Gail's like, no. She's taking her husband and her kids somewhere safe, and she wants her happy ending. Which I liked that. Obviously, of course, I miss Sydney a lot, but it would be stupid for her to come back and get in the same situation that she's been in 1 through 5 or 4. Yeah, 5.
5.
But of course you miss Sydney. She's the OG. She's the original. Like.
Yeah. I still, again, maybe this is, I don't know if it's OCD or what, but I like things to be a certain way to a degree, and the fact that she was in all of the movies. I don't know if you guys know, let us know in the comments or in the chat what made it that she wasn't in it. Was it a purely creative thing that they wanted to kind of give? I don't know if they wanted to give the movie depth or what, by not having her there. I'm not sure what the thought process was.
I think they just wanted it to be different, honestly.
Yeah,
I think they just wanted it to be something new. They didn't want people to be able to predict everything that happens. I think that's probably an element of it. Maybe Sydney just got, Nev Campbell just didn't want to do it anymore. I mean, there is a chance that she got tired of it. She doesn't want to be known as I don't know. But
yeah, there's an element. I mean, that's definitely possible. It just didn't seem in this day and age with technology, unless she honestly didn't want to be a part of it. Like if it was one of those things where they didn't find a reason for, because I think it was written by the same people who wrote 5 and written and directed by the same people who directed 5. So if you guys know, let us know. I didn't care for it just because, like you said, I really like Nev Campbell. I love Sidney Prescott. To me, she is like what Nancy was supposed to be in the Nightmare movies. Like when Nancy eventually, later on in the movies, you see her more and more. It's kind of like, okay, cool, it's Nancy. But when Sydney's on screen, you're like, holy shit, it's Sidney Prescott. At least that's how it was for me. But yeah, like Mr. Thanovich said, man, it started off super, super strong and raw and fresh and just like, holy shit. And then, of course, when he stalks the kid, the Flash character, Flash Thompson, kid who plays Flash Thompson, I don't remember his name in the movie, but he's just like, all right, man, we told each other, no voice modulator, like what you, he's like, oh, well, you got to practice. I'm going to practice. And I was like, okay, it's kind of up in the air. I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm also like, who was the kid that he thought he was talking to?
The kid in the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah, okay, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I forgot that even happened. Oh,
Yeah.
my God, that dude was chopped up in the fridge.
Yeah.
That was pretty dope, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's very much like, I'm trying to compare it to something because when we've seen movies in the past, slasher movies in the past, and I'm for some reason drawing a blank on an example here, but we see, the red herring or the obvious dupe where we're like, oh, it's us. And the person's like, what do you mean? I'm over here. And they're like, holy shit, it's the actual person we're trying to avoid or trying to copycat or whatever it is. And I was confused for like 5 seconds because I was like, wait a second. Does he have like a disciple? Does he have like a follower? Is there like a cult in New York City of just Ghostface, And he's like, no, you killed your teacher. I don't remember what the actual killer says, but it's something about your teacher didn't deserve it or something along those lines of like, it's a whatever moment, and then kills his roommate, chops him up, puts him in the fridge, messes with his mind, scares the shit out of him, and then kills him. And I think that's when you finally see that the mask is like old. And it's a different, like, it's like, oh man. And for the longest fucking time, dude, we were like, oh my God, is it going to be Stu for some reason? And then even Kirby, like,
she mentioned that it could be Stu because, I mean, we never saw his body be taken off. We never saw him in a body bag.
And like, I don't remember who in the chat was saying, oh, it was Mr. Thanovich. He was like, how is Chad alive? Dude, like you said. Yeah.
I did. Chad grew on me. I was sad when we thought he was going to die. But when I saw that he was alive, when he got rolled out onto the stretcher or whatever, and he's like alive, I was like, okay. Well, this is getting a little bit ridiculous with the almost killing someone and making it pretty obvious that there's like no way they could be alive, and then having them somehow magically pull through. They stabbed him so many times. Like, and I know a lot of the other characters got stabbed in pretty vital places, but I mean, this dude, like, I was like, there's no, like, how humanly, because this, to me, one element of all this whole franchise is the realism of it, like how realistic it is and all that. And when that happened, I was like, that doesn't seem humanly possible to me. I guess it technically could be. Nobody really knows, I guess. But I was like, how the hell? I guess I'm glad he is alive because I didn't want him to die. But like, just how?
Like, I definitely get what you're saying, 100%. The allure of Scream is that it's realistic. The reason, it's the only slasher that, unless I'm in the mood in a dark room by myself, it's the only slasher movie that I'm like, okay, we're good. Like, I get it. It's very realistic, but that's really the only sense of suspending disbelief that I have to do, that I have to engage or whatever in with the movie is the fact that people do get stabbed a shit ton of times and they somehow pull through. I've seen a lot of medical miracles happen, whether it's secondhand, while working at the hospital or hearing about it in a documentary. The human body is very, very fascinating. It's very strong, but it's also very fragile. So I definitely understand on both sides, like, well, people can pull through from weirder things. Like someone get a pole stuck in the middle of their brain and they can make it. But the way that they showed him, like as opposed to in the fifth one where he just gets stabbed 3 times and then the car lights, scare the killer away and he's like, oh, on the ground, and you see him pull through at the end. I think for 6, it was kind of like a soft homage, maybe I'm reaching here, but to Dewey in the second one where he, gets stabbed and Gale sees him, get stabbed like in the back.
Yeah.
And he like gets up against the glass and all the blood spews on the glass and you're like, okay, that's bad. Because blood coming out of the mouth means it's GG.
Internal, yeah.
Yeah, and he pulls through. So I think, if anything, that was a tribute to Dewey and how he kept just like a cat with 9 lives, because kept showing up. So I don't know why they did that. I think they did it in more of like, oh my God, what are they going to have left to, that's it,
Yeah.
But the whole idea of how they revealed the killers, the motive, I thought the shrine was dope. Like,
yeah, that was really cool because there was I don't want to call them Easter eggs because the whole point of the shrine was that it was all, stuff that the killers were wearing, stuff that they had. But every time they would show a different shot of it, I would notice something different. Like, oh my God, that's the same shirt that Billy wore. That's the robe that I think wasn't Stu wearing a robe at some point in
the toga. I think that's what Derek was wearing. If it was the toga thing.
I don't know. It was like I don't know. But I was like, oh, I kept noticing like different things every time they would show the shrine.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, but I don't know.
I mean, I get it. I get that it was a fan service for us, to see Billy's bloody shirt and Mrs. Loomis's like bloody pantsuit. Because at first I thought it was like a doctor. I was like, when did they show a doctor in these movies? But I realized it was her because they had like the lanyard of the reporter thing and the blood from, I thought it was cool how they got it. How it tied in that the dad was a cop and he was able to get.
That's another thing that made me confirmed my suspicion that it was that guy, because I was like, he's the only one that's working so closely with everybody and has access to any of this stuff. And so I was like, that one's pretty obvious to me at this point. But of course, they throw you curveballs all the time. So I was like, I'm not going to be. There's no way you can, decide who you think it is and make that set in stone, because they usually do throw curveballs at you. But
I guess what made me not suspect him so much was that I overthought it, and I was like, well, most of that evidence came from California, and there's no way, or not, California when they were in LA for the third one, and then in Woodsboro. So I was like, how is he going to get his hands on all that? But Richie, we have no idea what Richie was doing in between films. We only know what he did in 5. So I thought it was okay. It didn't bother me that they were all related to Richie. I thought that it was kind of interesting, but at the same time, maybe not have so many siblings roughly around the same age. That it just
was a little weird.
Yeah, because it was just a little unrealistic. Unless they were all adopted, but I don't think that's what they were going for.
No, that would have been, I think, a thing that they made prominent if that was true. I don't know.
And of course, the whole thing with Samantha still having visions of her dad and stuff, it was great because we got to see Skeet again. The sessions with her therapist were very, very weird because obviously, I don't know if any of you have experienced therapy. Therapy is a very touch and go kind of thing. And it was very, I don't know, jarring because it almost seemed like we didn't need more of it, but what we got felt like it was rushed. So I'm not saying I needed more sessions with the doctor, but it was kind of like, as soon as she sat there, she was like, I did this, 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 and this. And he's like, okay, I can't help you. And we're like, okay, where's this going? And then the doctor gets killed. And I'm like, wait, why?
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like that was one element of the movie that was rushed a little bit, because there definitely was a few, especially the ending. And I think that was definitely one of them that is outside of the ending that was rushed for sure.
Yeah. And like I said, we only saw it once. So there's a couple details and stuff like that I'd like to watch it again for to see if we missed anything or if we got things wrong or muddled or whatever. But overall, the movie was good. I just wish that the ending had a little bit more thought and I guess, round table, brainstorm session, whatever you want to call it, so that it didn't seem so freaking rushed. It just seemed like they were on the gun and they were like, all right, guys, we got 10 minutes to wrap this up. And we're like, oh shit. Like the movie started off so strong, like camera angles, the part where old girl was trying to cross which we've seen that before in movies. Like we saw it in The Deep Blue Sea when, you probably haven't yet, but, you know, with characters are like, you got to make it across, hurry, they're coming. And he shows up, finally rushes through the door, grabs the ladder, and is just starting to shake the ladder. I was like, okay, that got me tense. Granted, it could have been because we were in the theater. I don't know. But I was super, super tense with that because I didn't think Mindy was going to go across. I thought that was going to be the end, and her girlfriend were going to die together. And that would be and then her brother would see it from across the window. Holy shit, I just lost my sister. And, you know, Ghostface can do his little taunting thing and then just disappear, which that's not how it went down. And then when she died, dude, when she hit the ground and they zoomed in on her face.
She hit the fucking dumpster before she hit the ground.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
They like added that to it. And I was like, oh my God.
See like her face like twitching. She's just like,
bam.
Yeah,
and
dude.
I was like, shit.
It was rough.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
And then like it's something I've noticed. I noticed it first in the end of the fifth one when Samantha was stabbing Richie. And she was doing it so quick and fast and so many times. That happens a lot throughout the sixth one. It's something that's different in 1 through 4. Like, I don't know, every time someone's killed, it's not necessarily that it's fast, but they get stabbed so many times. And it's just like, bam, 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 bam. And in weird spots sometimes, too.
Yeah, like the neck and the
that
shoulder.
That weird neck one, and then when I can't remember, I think it was Tara, when she stabbed him in the mouth, like the throat, and that was weird. It was cool. I liked it, but definitely they got more creative with the stabbings for sure.
Which there's an element that, you know, makes it to where it's realistic, because when you're especially for self-defense, you would imagine if you're trying to defend yourself, you're going to go anywhere you can.
Yeah.
And, you know, the whole thing with giving the knife the significance again and making it to where it was almost like its own character in the sixth one. You know, you see that scene where you see all of them and Kirby has that moment where she's like, that's the knife that I was stabbed with. It gave that, you know, what is it? The Buck Knife 150 or whatever it's called. That's its own character. It's literally as iconic as Freddy's gloves or, you know, Jason's machete. Like it's so iconic now. And the movie definitely kept that dark grit that the fifth one had, like where Ghostface was stalking, like that scene in the subway where he was just looking at Mindy and then she's like, okay, that's not him. And then looking again and it's not him. And then that walking towards and Samantha's like, guys. And then he just does the hard right and it's not him. It reminded me of that scene right before, unfortunately, when Dewey we're not going to talk about 5 because we have that episode coming out, but when Dewey dies, you know, he comes out across that hallway and he's just like cocking his head over, just looking at them. It's that stalking Ghostface that we don't see in the originals. Yeah. He's more of like, he's there and then he's off the scene, which is fine. That's a different Ghostface, you know? But like I said, Ghostface was great. The reveal telling us who it was, not so much at all. I didn't like it at all. Let us know, anybody in the chat, if you liked it. I know that Mr. Thanovich said no. We agree 100%. The ending was kind of meh. I have no idea what they're going to do in 7. I know that Sydney, if that's the last one, I haven't done any research yet. That's one of the things I kind of want to do, like before bed, like look online and see what people are saying, if there's anything official, when it's coming out, that kind of thing. I would imagine if it's the last movie, Sydney's going to come out probably for one last whatever. Gail might die that's what I thought was going to happen in 6. Gail was going to die, Gail was going to die, and then Sydney would have to show up and take care of business like she did for Dewey. But I don't know. I'm kind of confused. I don't know what they're going to do.
I'm worried about it, honestly. I'm worried that any more is going to feel like the ending of 6. It's going to feel rushed. It's going to feel like repetitive. It's going to feel like a money grab almost. And I'm just kind of worried about it. I definitely could be wrong. But I'm definitely still gonna watch it, obviously, but I'm excited for it, but I'm worried about it.
Yeah, yeah, because like you said, things can get repetitive. Things can get pretty drawn out for no reason. Hopefully, they do a huge ending similar to how they ended Halloween Ends. I'm not going to spoil it for you because you haven't seen it yet, but I was really, really impressed. I was somehow able to dodge all the spoilers for Halloween Ends. I liked it how they ended it. It was a good way of ending the saga. And with Scream, it's my second favorite, or Scream's my first favorite franchise, but I'm a big Michael Myers fan. So hopefully with my favorite slasher franchise, they end it the way Halloween ended for me, with Sydney in Laurie or Jamie Lee's spot. Because I would personally like Stu to come back. And that would be because it would literally make it to where if Sydney takes Stu on, that's it. Like she's done, she took care of Billy. She killed Billy. She didn't really, I mean, I guess she did. No, I can't remember. I don't
Gail
think
killed
it
him.
was Gail or no. Oh my God. I can't believe I can't remember who pushed the TV on his face, on his head.
Oh, you're talking about Stu.
Yeah.
You said Billy.
No. I meant to say Sydney. I can't remember who pushed the TV.
I think Sydney did. Yeah, because Gail didn't show back up.
That's right.
until, yeah, it was definitely Sydney.
Yeah.
But I can't remember who got the final blow to Billy, actually.
Oh, it was definitely Sydney. That was like the first time I think you see her use a gun, like pull the trigger. And because she even says it later on, I forget what movie. She's like, I shot him in the head or something like that.
Yeah.
And then she, by the time 2 gets around, she shoots Mrs. Loomis in the head. She's like, you got to make sure,
Yeah.
But I would love to see just Stu, because for those of you that don't know, the actual plot of Scream 3 was supposed to be Stu comes back to Woodsboro and starts to just recruit a bunch of misfit teens that are getting either bullied or don't feel like they belong or whatever, and training them to be like a legion of Ghostface, basically. And then, unfortunately, in real life, Columbine happened, the Columbine massacre at Columbine High School, and Wes Craven was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not involving the high school in any way, shape, or form with violence. Rightfully so, because it was a tragedy. And unfortunately, there was a long string of school shootings after that. But he did not want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I don't blame him. So they didn't go with that. So Stu was supposed to come back. And whether that was after or before they shot the death scene with him in the TV, I don't know. But it would make sense for him to come back if he's not. Because even Kirby, like we said, she says, well, if he's dead, so why have that in there just to confuse us? I don't think so. That's just not the style, I don't think.
I hope not. I want him to come back so bad.
Yeah, that'd be really, 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 really cool if they did that. I would be really happy because it would come full circle. Honestly, the way that they depicted, I don't know if it was supposed to be the Ethan character or the Quinn character that was the ruthless Ghostface, the one from the bodega, the one from the scene with the ladder where he was like trying to rush into that anger. I was hoping it was Stu because he was just bodying everything, dude. Yeah. And then when you find out that the 2 high school kids, I was like, oh my God,
well, I mean,
this
it
Ghostface
also could have been the dad, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, like it just, I don't know, it fell flat for me. I thought that the Ghostface was cooler than the reveal. At least when it was Roman, when it was Mickey, when it whoever, you were like, okay, I could see them being the ones that are killing. When you see these 2 kids that are just whining about their brother being killed, rightfully so, because he was a psychopath, it just felt super, super elementary. I don't know, man. Like I said, it's part of a beloved franchise. As a fan, I'm obligated to enjoy it to some degree, theoretically. And maybe it'll be different the second time around. I'm not sure. We were very, very excited and very like amped up. So it might be different the second watch that we do. But I don't know. I'm very confused of what they're going to do. They could not do anything else and it'd be just done. But then we got, what is it? The Core 4 thing is like a big deal now. Yeah, that's going to be probably play a role in the next one. Can't wait to see what the survivors are going to do. Who's going to be the killer? Is it going to be one of them? At one point I mentioned to you, it was like, is it going to be Sydney? And you're like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, well, I mean, I just don't know how crazy they're going to get with this,
Yeah.
But if you guys know, let us know in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube later on in playback, let us know, comment, in the video and tell us what you think is going to happen in 7. I don't know as of right now if it's going to be the last movie or not. I don't know. I do know that someone somewhere mentioned, to me in passing between, I think it was Scream 5 and 6's release, that Neve Campbell said that she was going to die at the end. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't see her or read her saying that, but I'm just curious because that kind of thing could be just put out there to start drama, or it could be something like, hey, if I'm not dead, then it's not the last movie, you know? So I'm kind of on the fence about that. I don't know what they're going to do, but overall, I think we enjoyed the film, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if there's anything else to cover without watching it again. I think we're missing a bunch of details. If you guys got any questions you want us to answer, those of you still in the chat. I know it was kind of like a last minute live, but we had a lot of scheduling issues this week. We had a lot of things to do. And I had to rush back from my son's baseball practice to kind of get here and get some sort of content out for you guys. We wanted to do a live. It's been a minute since we did it. Hopefully we'll get enough subscribers to the We Judge Everything channel. That's the I don't want to say brother or sister channel to this one, but it's another YouTube channel that Alexa and I started, and it's going to be all about mainly just trying new things, watching movies for the first time, that kind of thing. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. We tried ranch flavored ice cream, which was an experience.
Interesting.
Yeah. That video, I actually had a lot of fun making that video. So if you guys haven't seen it, head over to the We Judge Everything channel. I'll put the link in the description of this live with all that stuff, all those details and stuff. But we are going to do, like I said, a watch video for the first time. I actually recorded Lex and I watching Scream 5. She's got a bunch of reactions. Those of you who are fans of the franchise know what I'm talking about. Certain people dying and certain things happening. I'm going to cut that video starting tomorrow. I start to edit that video. More traditional. If you've been on the Snapkeep videos video library, you see all the times that I've had friends in the past and stuff watch movies for the first time. It's kind of like that. You get to see the actual reactions in the time that they're happening, when they happened for the first time, kind of deal. And then we're going to do a podcast episode on Scream 6 after we watch it again. So yeah, that's what we have planned for the immediate future. JC Cook says, okay, brother, I got to go to work, but put the bread in the basket. You take care. You too, man. Thanks for hanging out and stopping by. But yeah, so that's going to be it for us today. We're going to go get ready for more content that we're planning. We got a bunch of weird foods we're going to try. Hopefully you guys stick around for that. If you haven't, subscribe to the We Judge Everything channel. Subscribe here to Snapcube videos. I'm going to upload on both channels, and hopefully we get to cross promote. And if we can get that 50 subscriber count, or that subscriber count on We Judge Everything, we can do lives straight on that channel. So I think it's going to be it for us. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you're watching this in playback, check out all the links in the description. You guys are great.